Welcome to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm your host, Shannon Skinner. Well, in the first half hour of today's show, you are going to meet Charmaine Hammond, who is the author of On Toby's Terms, about a bad dog who does really good things, so you're not going to want to miss this. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on living a successful life, and you will hear Charmaine's. In the second half of the show, we'll be talking about using dance as a form of healing, so stay tuned. Well, hello, Charmaine.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to have you here in the studio.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Yeah, now you are, of course, traveling and promoting your new book, On Toby's Terms.
We are. We left Alberta a couple of weeks ago, made the 3,600-kilometer journey, the drive, and got back home. This is home for us, actually.
Well, now you, of course, you're an author, and you haven't always been an author, and you started your career in something very different than the arts, corrections, I believe.
Right. Yes. I always say I started my career behind bars, but on the outside.
That's right.
As a correctional officer.
As a correctional officer, and then a mediator, and at some point you made a big change in your life. And you decided that you wanted to become a speaker and a trainer. Let's talk about the early days of your career.
Wow. Well, I graduated college from the correctional worker program in Sheridan College in Oakville and in Brampton, and was a correctional officer with adults in a male facility in Brampton, Ontario Correctional Institute, and then really found my passion working with young offenders. And I managed and led young offender facilities right up until the time we left to move to Alberta, which was in 1991.
1991?
1991, yeah.
And then from that you became a mediator.
I did. I think I must have really enjoyed the world of working and living in conflict and crisis, which was what corrections was all about. And
great skills to have in anything that you do, isn't it?
Very good skills. And you know, I loved the process of watching people work on their goals and set intentions for themselves and lead a different life after they left the facility. So not that happened to all of them, but I really enjoyed that process. So went back to school, got trained as a mediator, loved conflict so much that I went and got a master's degree in the field and practiced as a mediator in family situations, and then worked into managing conflicts and mediating in the corporate world.
In terms of managing the conflicts, what was it about it that really drew you to wanting to smooth things out or sort it out or create yourself an expertise?
Right. One of the, early on in my career in the correctional field, I learned that many times in conflict, people were stuck. You know, they weren't getting past the conflict from 10 years ago, they weren't getting past a conflict from today. And then I watched when people resolved it in a more collaborative way that they could actually move forward. They became more resilient. And I was really inspired by that notion, how people could move forward through conflict. And I think that's what inspired me to choose a profession in dispute management.
And then you ended up, of course, with a dog who created all sorts of conflict. But more about Toby later.
That's right.
And you have a connection to Jack Canfield. This is really the start of your writing career.
Yeah, I took Jack Canfield's Success Principle coaching program. I had seen Jack speak many, many times and enjoyed his book, Success Principles. And on my shelves, I also had a whole series of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. So Jack had sort of been in my world as a mentor and an author for many years, and I took his coaching program, and that really transformed my life. And I wrote a story about my dog Toby that got accepted into Chicken Soup for the Soul, and that I think I'd been bitten by the writing bug at that point.
And that was one of the series, Chicken Soup
That's
for the Soul
right.
series.
Yeah, Chicken Soup for the Soul, What I Learned from the Dog.
What I Learned from the Dog. Where's that book available? Does anyone pick it up?
It's still available in the Chapters stores and in the sort of in all the booksellers, Amazons. It came out in 2009, September 2009.
So what made you want to sit down and write a story about your dog for this book? For
On Toby's terms. Well, you know, I'm still scratching my head trying to figure that out. We adopted Toby when he was 5, and he came with a whole bunch of issues, and he's now almost 10. And what we discovered, my husband and I, Chris, in our effort to keep this dog and not return him to the shelter, was that the more we worked with him and asked for help and went through this journey to correct Toby's destructive behavior, we began to grow as people. Our marriage became enriched, our communication improved, and this dog was becoming our teacher. And I thought, wow, other people need to learn about this. We're learning life lessons through our dog that is benefiting our life.
Oh, great. There's now this is a picture of Toby with you and your husband.
That's Christopher, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Well, maybe we can show the book cover as well on Toby's terms. Maybe we can cue it up. There we go. There's Toby.
With this gorgeous smile. I don't think I have very many pictures of this dog with his mouth closed, actually. Everyone seems to recognize Toby by the big, pink, floppy tongue.
Now, this is a dog who has just, hit celebrity status practically overnight. So let's talk about Toby, and let's talk about, his unusual behavior that he began to display once you adopted him, and then how that has transformed your life, and then now it's transformed the lives of others. And of course, this book is being turned into a motion picture. It is.
Which
is exciting.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
It's just, it's amazing. And who knew? We almost gave the dog back to the shelter when we couldn't fix his behavior. But we adopted him. He was a rescue dog, and we do know that his first family loved him a lot. But when he went into care, he was grossly overweight, about 30 pounds, I believe, and he was on a number of medications. Human Prozac, a dog anti-anxiety, and a dog antidepressant pill. That should have been my first clue that there was problems, right? But when you fall in love, with a dog, we kind of look beyond all those clues and those warning signs.
So you got a dog that was loaded on antidepressants.
And when we got him from the foster care agency, he was in foster for about 3 months. They had done a great job of getting the 30 pounds off him, and he was medication-free when we adopted him. And the first 6 months with this dog were almost perfect. He was loving, he was almost like a shadow, stuck with us all the time, very obedient. And then after 6 months, I kind of say it was like he passed his probationary period with us, that we came home to a very different dog.
So what happened? How did his unusual behavior start to manifest itself?
Well, the first sign, we came home and there was a couple of signs of Toby. He would rearrange our closet. He would pull all the clothing out, our boots, our shoes, and just sort of pile them on the floor. So that was the first sign that, wow, the dog's not perfect. And then this started to happen more repeatedly. But the real warning sign for us was when my husband, Christopher, came home from work one day, couldn't get in the house, that he was trying to open the door between the garage and the front foyer in the house. And it was unlocked, but wouldn't open. And so Chris crawled through the dog door and comes into the house through the dog door, enters through the kitchen, and is aghast at what he saw. In fact, the house was so damaged, he thought it looked like a crime scene. He phoned our neighbor Heather to come over because he didn't want to walk through the house himself for fear of what he might find. And that was the sign. There was broken toilet tank lids, furniture everywhere in the house rearranged, every closet emptied, all my plants taken out of the plant pots, the water cooler emptied, the hardwood floor actually was swollen, mud everywhere, knocked everything off the kitchen counters, and we thought, wow. This is not the same Toby we had 6 months ago.
Now, different people might handle that situation differently, but you chose to work with Toby. And this is not the first time. I mean, he's trashed your toilet lids, I think, a number of times.
Yeah,
is that right?
We've gone through 6 toilet lids, tank lids, and we've actually had to replace 1 full toilet because you can't buy the lid anymore. Yeah, so we through many discussions with Chris and I, we decided to not give up on Toby, that we were going to commit to him and get through this and get him the help that he needed,
Well, the incident had something to do with a block of knives on your kitchen counter, is that right? There was something that just straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, that day that I described, Toby he's never been on the counter. I mean, he's never put his face on the counter, his chin on the counter. And when Chris came home that day, everything that was on the counter was smashed on the floor, including one of the knife blocks. And Toby had cut his feet, 2 of his paws, and Chris tended to those right away when he got home. But, you know, it became a concern for us because now it was a safety issue as well for Toby. So we had to get help for him. His feet were fine, but I think we're the only family that I know that actually have to lock their knife block up away from their dog. So it's stuck in the back of the cupboard where he can't get at it and hurt himself. But we knew we had to get help.
So you have this dog who's displaying unusual behavior for a dog. I mean, I have a dog. I've got now my second sheepdog. Now, my dog doesn't do these things, so this is really, you know, a very unusual dog.
It is.
So you've got this situation. What did you do to get help?
We took Toby to the vet immediately to get his feet checked out and also to talk to the vet about, you know, what is going on with this dog, because we're pet owners, we're not trainers, so this was well beyond our knowledge of how to deal with Toby. And so the vet recommended that we call a behaviorist in. And when we called Maggie, that was really the day that life changed for Chris, Toby, and myself. And she came in and really just did an assessment in the house. She let us know to pretend she's not there, which is really difficult to do. But she watched Toby and his surroundings and how he just went about his day. And she noticed immediately that he seemed to have this desire to know where we are and to help us and nurture us. He was always checking on Chris and I and always knowing where his stuffed animals and his toys were. And she said that was the first indication that he seemed to need a job.
So he needed a job.
He did. A purpose.
A purpose. What happened then?
Well, the ironic part of this is that at the same time Maggie is telling us that our dog needs a purpose, I was on a bit of an adventure in my life, sort of reflecting on, you know, what is my purpose and what am I here to do while I'm on the planet?
So you're on a parallel course to your dog.
Exactly. And that's where the learning started to happen. So I had no idea where you find a dog job, especially one who, you know, breaks toilet tanks. But Maggie felt he'd be perfect for pet-assisted therapy. And she said that because of his nature. While there's this one part of Toby that's breaking toilet tank lids and rearranging our home, there's this other side of the dog that is consistently loving, consistently gentle, and accepts everyone unconditionally. And so that's what we did. We researched pet-assisted therapy organizations in Edmonton, where we live, and found him a job at a hospital. So he volunteers through a group called CHIMO. They're a pet-assisted therapy project, and he was placed almost 4 years ago at Alberta Hospital Edmonton, and we've been volunteering there ever since, together. So it's become my volunteer job too.
Now we're going to take a quick break. Before we do, I've got my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you have a great tip.
Thank you.
So you can just jump in.
Tell you now what the tip is. It's all about the ask. One of the things I discovered with Toby was that I was not very good asking for help. And I discovered by reaching out and asking for help for Toby, it really started me on a path. And I've discovered that when you ask for help, it really sort of lights the way, sets the stage for other people to ask you. And there's sort of this process of giving and receiving that as you're extending help to somebody else, you can share your talents and gifts with someone else and be ready and open to receive assistance from other people.
So ask for help.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Charmaine Hammond and Toby, the bad dog who does good. So stay tuned.
Dark, I can see the light. shining through you.
Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm joined by Charmaine Hammond, author of On Toby's Terms. And that was a little video that we saw, a little promo video of Toby. What a great video.
My niece shot that. We took a bunch of footage. Everywhere we go with Toby, we're taking photos and videos, and he meets some incredible people and celebrity animals. And our niece actually put that together, and our nephew made our YouTube channel for us.
Yeah, that's right. Toby has his own YouTube channel.
He does.
Where would people find it?
It's under YouTube users On Toby's Terms.
On Toby's Terms, great. Now, On Toby's Terms, of course, is being turned into a motion picture, as we mentioned earlier. How exciting!
It is. It's so exciting. It's just been an incredible journey, and we've known for quite some time. The book got signed to become a motion picture right around the time it went to print, which was around June. So it has been an incredible time. The book came out September 2010, and in that time it's just been fabulous. And
the book is available where? It's
available at all the booksellers chapters, the online booksellers such as Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It was a bestseller in Canada and U.S. in May on Amazon.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And your website, and for more information about Toby, it's people can find you at ontobysterms.com.
That's right.
Correct?
He has his own website, his own Facebook.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It is.
I was following Toby there on his website. It was so cute. But this is a dog who isn't your average dog, who's taught you a lot, who's changed your life, and who's changed the lives of many others. So you've got him into this program. He's now got a purpose.
Yeah.
How has that purpose made a difference in the lives of others?
It's incredible to watch. We've been doing this almost 4 years, as I said, and every Wednesday, Toby walks through the doors of the hospital as excited as he was the first day. And I love that. I think it's just such a great lesson for us as people to live our life that way. I've watched patients who have been incredibly terrified of telling people no, and they end up sort of giving people their own belongings for fear of saying no. And there was one patient in particular that Toby had gotten to know for quite some time, and she was very shy, very timid, and when she would speak to Toby, she would speak so softly that Toby wouldn't pay attention. He didn't even hear her. So we worked with this patient to help her be more confident, more assertive with Toby, and what we saw start to happen was that confidence and that assertiveness transferred from Toby to people in her life, her family and other patients in the hospital. So her life skills grew as a result of working with Toby. Yeah.
And what does Toby think of this?
He just... What is so interesting is this dog, without any training to do this, he just steps into his purpose, and I don't know how, but he knows what everybody needs. So when we walk through the hospital, he very quickly figures out who needs, a quiet, gentle cuddle, who needs to be played with, and kind of, who wants to be barked at, and then the other patients that just sort of need a respectful distance, and he knows how to help people. And so what we see is that while patients are growing from the experience with Toby, Toby's also growing from the experience with them. I think it's really a two-way street.
Now, there are some lessons specifically that you've learned from Toby in terms of how he's made a difference in your life. What are some of those lessons?
One of the lessons is around authenticity. I discovered early on with Toby that Toby shows up in life as Toby, and as an author and someone who brings Toby on book signings and tours, it can be a little unnerving because we never know what that means. But he is such an authentic dog. He always shows up as himself, and I've learned that as I start to practice that in my life, showing up in the world as the best version of me, my life is enriched, life is so much easier, there's less resistance. So authenticity was one lesson. Commitment was another. We talked earlier, we didn't give up on Toby, and I'm grateful and thankful that we didn't. And it's taught me to sometimes persist that little bit longer, to not give up as soon as I might have on whatever it is that I'm working on. So commitment was another lesson.
And before we go on to the next, let's just pull up another photo of Toby. Let's have another quick look at him here. Oh, there he is.
Him in his element. Loves the outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, loves the outdoors.
So authenticity. commitment, the importance of commitment. What other lesson have you learned from Toby?
You know, one of I think it's more of a reminder, Toby is such a kind individual, even though he, you know, destroys toilet tanks. I watch him with people, and I watch him with other animals, and he seems to know how to respond to people. With little children, he's so tentative with them and cautious with them so that he doesn't knock them over while he's playing. With some of the senior citizens that he's met, he's very gentle and just sort of, he waits for their response to see how he should behave. And I just watch him be kind wherever he goes. And it's such a reminder for us as people to extend that little bit of extra kindness.
And there was one more key one, at least one more key one. We've got authenticity, commitment, the importance of kindness.
You know, I think the other one is around showing up in the world. I guess it's related to authenticity, but showing up in the world as yourself. And I think the other lesson from Toby that I've learned is around trust. That Chris and I have had to learn to really put trust in sort of Toby, that things will get better, and put trust in our goals. And by doing that, we've seen Toby really grow as a dog, and we certainly have grown as a couple as a result of that.
So this has really had an impact on your marriage.
Huge, huge.
Right.
We had to learn how to communicate differently. We learned that when we were frustrated with Toby, it created tension for him. And tension for Toby results in destruction. So we learned that when it came to Toby, we had to communicate differently to keep Toby's stress level down. And that has been incredible for Chris and I. And now we work together. So we both work in our business together, travel the world with our dog, and it's amazing. Yeah.
So what's Toby's behavior like today now that he's following his purpose at home? Does he still get into trouble? Do you still see some destruction?
A little bit of destruction. Usually we can trace it to something. We hadn't seen a broken toilet tank lid for about 1.5 years now.
Thank God.
Thank God. I think Home Depot was getting rather sick of ordering them in case lots. But we do see the occasional act of destruction. About a month ago, Toby took a room apart and took Chris's computer apart and chewed the end of a table off. But we were able to trace that back. We were moving at the time, so we think Toby was getting anxious with all the boxes coming and going into the house and wasn't quite sure what's happening to his surrounding him. And so we have to work extra hard at providing him with more stability and continuity.
Has your definition of success at all as a woman changed through this experience with Toby? The way you would have defined it before and the way you would define it today, has that at all changed?
Very much so, actually. And I think the way it's changed is that I place a lot more importance and priority on perhaps different qualities in life. So before I might have associated success with how far a person has come or what they have accomplished in a tangible way. And I think my definition of success has changed also to be about who you are being in life and what you're bringing to the world. So it isn't just about what you've accomplished and what you have to show for what you've accomplished. It's also very much about who you are being. And that's one of the measures I use now for my success. Who am I being and what am I giving back?
Now, you have another project that you've just launched, a new book that's coming out.
Yes.
A follow-up book, in a way, to Toby, On Toby's Terms. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that before the end of our chat.
Sure. Toby's also been going into schools. In fact, he's presented to, I think it's about 6,700 students now across North America. And so On Toby's Terms is really a book that we wrote for adults and sort of high school and up, middle school and up. And we were getting so much excitement from little children at the schools that wanted a picture book about Toby. So we've just launched the first. It's called Toby the Pet Therapy Dog and All His Hospital Friends. It's a beautiful illustrated book.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
see the cover
there's
now.
The cover. It's what I'm so excited about is that the book is illustrated by my best friend. We've been friends since we were 5 years old, and Roseanne Previck is a dear friend of mine who we grew up in Burlington together. So we had dreams as kids about working together, having a rock band together, the Gemini Girls, and now that didn't work out. I can't sing. So now we get to work together on this project.
So where will people be able to find Toby and his hospital friends?
That'll be available in Chapters and on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and many of the independent bookstores as well.
Excellent. Well, Charmaine, it's been such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
And I wish you all the best with the book and your tour and the movies. So,
thank you so much.
And of course with Toby himself. So
we need those wishes of good luck. Thank you.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you are going to meet Erica Ross, who is the co-founder of Dance Our Way Home. We'll be talking about dance and healing, so stay tuned.